RPM planning is a way to maximize the results of your life and maximize your sense of fulfillment and joy. It's both. In order to do that, we got to change what we focus on from the question of what do I have to do to what's my outcome? What do I want? What's most important to me? What's the result I'm committed to getting? That one change will change completely how you respond in your life, because it'll change you from focusing where everyone's demanding your attention or what you're afraid of or what might give you pleasure in the moment to what's most important to you. And those, by the way, are the three things that get our focus. If we don't discipline ourselves, what gets our focus? Something we're afraid of, something will give us pain. What's the second thing that gets our focus if we don't pay attention? Something will give us pleasure. It's like, you know what, I'm so stressed out. Oh, that chocolate's looking good. Oh, that, I'm gonna go over to have my little coffee, my smocha mocha doka cream, this thing and that thing, and I'm gonna escape for a few moments. Because the focus is how to feel good. How to not feel bad, how to feel good. What's the third thing that gets your focus? Other people's demands. It's not necessarily there are more demands, it's just that we're accessible to more demands. And if you don't know what you want, and you don't know why it's a must for you to achieve it, and you don't have a plan, I can promise you something. You're gonna fit in everybody else's plan. And you're gonna wonder why you're stressed. And you're gonna wonder why I'm not fulfilled. What is time? How do you know when it's a long time, or how do you know when it's a short time? It's not because it's 10 minutes or 10 hours. How many have been in 10 hours and time flew because you loved what you're doing, didn't have any sense of time whatsoever? How many have had that experience? Say aye. How many have had 10 minutes feel like 10 years you want to kill somebody to get out of the situation? So what is time? Time is emotion. Got to remember that time is emotion. What you're really managing is emotion. Another word for that would be meaning or fulfillment. Focus is power, but you got to take it. Take it back. Take back that power. And you got to know when you do have that focus, how to chunk it, how to group it so you're not overwhelmed. Let me show you how to make it simpler. When mass information is coming at you, you get overwhelmed. Most of us are great deletion creatures. We delete most of life. Right now, there are millions of things around you could be focusing on, thinking about, giving meanings to, making decisions about what to do. Millions. And when you think about what it's going to take to do something, usually it takes a lot, and you're not going to want to do it. So I'll do it when? Later. As my Australian friends would say, later. Right? And of course, the problem with doing it tomorrow is when you get to tomorrow, tomorrow is today, and tomorrow never comes. So, and you keep promising yourself. By the way, what does this do to you emotionally when you keep breaking your own promises with yourself? Or you keep failing to do things that you know are important? Does it increase your level of certainty and confidence? No. What it does is it erodes it. And when you erode confidence in one area, believe it or not, it affects the other areas too. Do you believe me on that? Don't believe me. What about your own life experience? Maybe not one area, but it starts to be multiple areas. It sure does. Another reason why somebody doesn't exercise or do anything is because they don't just chunk it too big, they chunk it in too many details. So remember this. Remember this. Change is never a matter of ability. It's always a matter of motivation. I'll say that again. Change is never a matter of ability. It's always a matter of motivation or drive, having strong enough reasons. If you got a strong enough reason, you could figure out the time, couldn't you? So the biggest part of life and time management is knowing what you want and having enough reasons to follow through. But there is one more piece. If you make enough reasons to follow through and you know what you want, but you make the task overwhelming, you'll be overwhelmed. What you focus on, you feel. What you feel, you are moved to somehow actuate. But if you only focus on what you don't want, or what's stressful in your life, what you can't control, or what you screwed up on, or what you messed up on in the past, you're not going to get where you want to be. Chunking is power. You don't want to over-chunk where you're trying to bite the whole darn thing together. You also don't want to under-chunk where you make a million pieces of something. What is chunking? It's taking all that's coming at you and putting it into idealized size groups that your mind can handle. See, science has proven the human brain, consciously, we can only handle what they call 7 ± 2 chunks of information. It's a term that they describe in science, that human beings can only handle 7 ± 2 chunks of information at one time. which is a very complex and over-chunked way of saying most people can only handle 5 to 9 things at once. But even the guy that explained it made it very complex. Here's how I tell you. You want to know what chunking is? Chunking to me is how to turn a lot into a little. Most people take a little and turn it into a lot. Exercising, if you're not doing it, you're turning into a lot. If you do it regularly, you turn into something very important, and it's a few things you do. It really is just as many things, it's just what you focus on, right? And when you're doing something and you're following through, you're focusing on the outcome and why it's important to you. How is easy when those 2 first steps are done? The first value thing about chunking is if you take it out of your head and you put it on paper, whether it be electronic paper or physical, you will have done yourself a great favor. Because when you get in your head, you tend to repeat things over and over. You have a hard time organizing it. And the reason is you're using words in your head and images and sounds. Now, if you can take all these thoughts and words and you can put them into a picture's worth 1,000 what? You just chunked your life instantly better when you make something visual on paper, electronic, or physical. Now, I want to explain to you what I mean by chunking in a moment, but I want you to notice that what he's done is told me things all in kind of a random way. And the brain loves pattern recognition. When you recognize a pattern, you feel certain. Oh, someone starts to look like that, I know what that means. Someone starts to say that, I know what that means. When this and this occurs, the business usually does that. I feel successful. Randomness makes us a little crazy. A certain amount of randomness is great, creates variety. Too much randomness, no certainty, which is a human need. And it freaks you out. So he's so random. Now, this is how the brain works. Randomly, while he's doing the laundry, he's going to think of something. Or he's a business, he's going to think about, oh my God, I got to get the cleaning in time because I got to get to that business meeting. How many have had these wonderful experiences? Say aye. So as a minimum, we need a way to just capture and get it out of our head. He doesn't even have an effective system for that because the system he has right now is electronic and he doesn't know how to run it properly or it doesn't run effectively. Probably the former rather than the latter. But either way, it doesn't work. He doesn't have certainty. Without certainty, you are going to be stressed. Certainty comes first with the ability to know you can at least capture it. The first step I teach people in RPM is you need a capture system. Something to get it all out of your head and dump it in one place where you know it's really there so when it's time, you can at least look at it and figure it out. If you don't have one place where it all goes consistently, and that you have access to. If you do it on your computer at work or you do it on your laptop, but by the time you open it and load it and everything else, you don't have time to even put something in because you forgot what it was, then you got a problem, don't you? You need a capture system that's consistent, at least one core place that it's absolutely there. Second step is once we capture, let's say we captured all these things. This is what it really looks like to his brain the way he does it. His brain goes, I got to do this, and I got to do that, I got to do this, and this, and I got to do that, and I got to do this, and I got to do that, and I got to do this. Oh, I got to do this, oh, this, oh, this, that, this, that, this, that, then this, then that, then this, and that, then this. Call this person, do this thing, follow this through, build this thing, do this business plan, get that money, make this thing happen, go there. How many feel stressed in your body? Say aye. Aye. So let me tell you what RPM does. You start to look at these things and you say, okay, there's all these things that are important. I've said they're important. I need to take this random stuff that makes me crazy and stressed and find some patterns. Before I figure out what to do, I get to figure out, does all this relate to something I want? He's lost what he wants in his list. And you go, you know what? This thing here, call my friends. Oh yeah, follow up with my friends from the seminar I went to. Oh yeah, coming over here and spending time with my sister. Oh yeah, going and talking to my girlfriend once. Okay, that all relates to one chunk, which is my relationships, let's say. Okay, over here, I need to raise money for this, raise money for that. I gotta put my money and my budget together this, I gotta do this, this, and I gotta do this and this and this. Okay, all of those relate to money. I've just taken 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 things I had to focus on, and now there are 2 things to focus on. My relationships this week and making progress on the economic side. I'm oversimplifying, but to give you a sense. How many would feel better already?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, and then I come over here and I go, okay, I gotta work out, I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do to change my diet, I gotta prepare for that marathon, I don't have to run the 14th mile, but I gotta do this piece here, and I gotta speak to my trainer, and I gotta do this thing here too. Oh, that's all my body. I wanna make major progress this way physically. I may not do all these things, but I'm gonna make progress, because progress equals happiness. Even if you haven't achieved it, if you know you're making measurable progress, you will not feel stressed, you will feel fulfilled. So when I'm in a conversation with somebody and they're talking about one of my 14 companies, how do I chunk that? Every company I have this metaphor. I say everything, if I were to say to you right now, I want to take every single thing that's in your house and we're going to move you, but here's how we're going to move you. We're going to take everything we have in your house and we're going to just dump it all on the floor of the new house. Just everything you've ever had, we'll dump it right there in this giant living room. And then now you got to organize things. Would you feel stressed? That's what he does. He doesn't even dump it on the living room. He puts it in a place he can't even find the dump. Okay? Which is common. Some people put part of the dump here, part of the dump there. They never even know where the whole dump of all the stuff is that they're thinking about is. Now, let's assume we did that, but I did one thing. I said to you, get this whole thing organized. You might not even know where to start. It'd be overwhelming. But if I said to you, everything in this room that I've dumped in this room will fit into 12 drawers. 2 chests of drawers. 1 with 6 over here that's all personal items, 6 over here that's all professional items. And it's 6 I'm making randomly. You could have 5, you could have 4, you could have 10 if you're really busy. And one of those, for example, is anything relates to finances. One of those, anything relates to my body. One of those, anything relates to family. One of those is relates to anything that affects me emotionally. Right? Go through the whole list. On the professional side, it's anything that relates to marketing, anything to accounting, right? Anything that relates to planning, anything that relates to sales, anything that relates to... Could you, if you knew what these items were, pick up each one and go, okay, that goes there, that one goes there, that one goes there, in a short time, would the entire room be clean? Yes or no? Not only that, but when you needed to focus on something, could you find it? How fast? That's RPM. When you know what you want, that's one thing. When you know why you want it, it changes the emotional quality even more. And I want to tell you something. It's the chunking that is making you think it's so long. But you got to stop the story that you have no time. You have all the time there is. Chunk your life will change. If you want an extraordinary life, it doesn't just happen. You got to create it. The best way to create it is develop a system so it doesn't happen once in a while. When you're lucky, you can count on it like clockwork. Sure stuff's going to interrupt you. Sure stuff's going to stress you. But you know how to get right back on target. And whether it's managing your time or managing a life, they really can't be separated. They go together. If you know what your life's really about, what you value, what's most important to you, not hard to get back on target. If you know what you want, why you want it, you'll come up with a map on how to get it done. If you surround yourself with other people that are committed to having an extraordinary life, it becomes even more easy. And yes, does it take a little more effort? Yes, in the beginning it does. It's called the rapid planning method because once you've done this a little bit, guess what? It's like putting a seminar together. I know there's only 5 things you really got to focus on, or 10 or 12. I start to think about those outcomes, I know why, and boom, everything flows. And all of a sudden, everybody thinks you're a genius when all you are is somewhat focused, organized, and clear. But you still have total flexibility to change your mind, do anything you want to do. You're not locked in place. It's not an anal process. It's art. It's the art of your life.